Today we're going to be answering that big question that keeps you up at night. Should I be using a camera that's older than my gran? I asked myself the very same question when I found this leathery old guy in a charity shop for 12 quid. Surely using an antique like this isn't practical today, right? This is a Voigtlander roll film, and I'll get into more grubby details in a minute, but first, let's get out there and do a real-world test. And I wasn't alone in testing this thing out. I was joined by my good mate Ethan, who I'd recently got into film photography, and he was quite happy about it.
Can I just say you've ruined my life?
He had his own antique piece of crap to take for a spin, in the form of a Voigtlander Brilliant TLR that his wife's granddad had left to him. Now this old guy takes 120 film, so we loaded up some good old HP5 and then headed down to Brighton Beach in search for some bangers. And to warm up on this miserable day, we kicked off with a photo of the old Brighton burnt down pier. And the first thing to talk about when using a camera of this age is a viewfinder. Or should I say, small square, large square. There is a fold-out eyepiece on the body and then a literal bit of wire down the front on the shutter. The idea is that you look through the small one, then whatever is inside the wire is your frame. If I was you though, I would go ahead and treat this as a guideline rather than a hard rule. As you can see, if you're aiming for perfect symmetry in your images whilst using this thing, then you're going to be bashing the shit out of that crop tool in Lightroom. This first shot is good in the sense that it exists and it is a photo. I was trying to center everything up nicely, but this viewfinder makes things quite tricky. If you're feeling really brave, you can use the Brilliant finder that sits just by the lens, but to be honest, it's so small it's pretty much useless.
That's what she said.
But there we go, first shot done. This thing is more than capable of creating an image. I will warn you now that these photos get far worse, but then they get better. But what about focusing something as old as this? Well, surprisingly, the Voigtlander roll film actually has a 5,000 point phase detection autofocus system. Yeah, does it You've got a little metal lever and then some numbers, and that little metal lever moves the lens backwards and forwards on rails. No rangefinder patch, just you and your stupid human brain to work out the distance. Not so much a problem if you're shooting at high apertures or stuff that's way off in the distance, but if you're at 4.5, then you might come unstuck. You can, if you're feeling real fancy, get yourself a separate rangefinder to improve your chances of hitting focus. Alternatively, I was just gauging distance with the knowledge that I'm 6'2" on a good day. This upside down house was about 5 jacks away. After a while, you'll probably get used to focusing a camera like this. Not me though, made evident by this pile of burning trash I'm presenting for you now. It would be really easy for me to blame the camera here, as it's an inanimate object. It can't defend itself. But we all know this is 100% down to user error. This was probably caused by me being a boob and forgetting to reset the focus lever to infinity, or possibly opening the bellows too fast and it's sucking the film off. Usually a colossal f*** up like this isn't a big deal, but this camera shoots 6x9 negatives, which means I've realistically pissed away about £10. But hey, I'll show you my mistakes so you don't make the same ones. And if I only showed you the good shots I got, then this video would only be about 2 minutes long. One of the arguments for film photography is that it forces you to slow down. Manual cameras make you consider your exposure correctly. Each frame costs you money, so you spend more time on composition. And if you like that slower paced style of shooting, then you're gonna love this camera. All the exposure controls are located down front on the shutter. You might end up flipping this thing around like a hot potato the first few times you use it, but you will get used to it. We've got apertures from 4.5 all the way up to good old 22. And we've got shutter speeds from bulb all the way up to 1/250th of a second. Although I've come to learn that the slower speeds on my copy sort of do whatever the f they want. Not a huge deal though, because everything faster than 1/50th of a second works just fine. And I have no intention of shooting any slower than that, because my grip can be shakier than your morals after 4 beers. This camera probably wouldn't be my first choice for something like night photography, not because I don't like the way that the images look, but more to do with the fact that you need the light from 1,000 suns to peer into the film window on the back and line up your next shot. And speaking of winding on film, there's no double exposure prevention on this camera. It's up to you to remember to move it onto the next frame. As you can tell by the stupid look on my face, this was something that I was struggling with, although I did manage to redeem myself on this last frame of HP5 and got this reasonable shot of Brighton Pavilion. And with my roll of HP5 spent, It was time to load up some disappointment. No, wait, sorry, Ektar 100. Like lots of people, I've got mixed emotions about Ektar, but I'm willing to be the bigger man and give it one more chance in hopes that it comes through with the goods. Obviously, this camera has no inbuilt light meter, so I was using a free app on my phone. And between all the fumbling around with the app and the settings on the camera, there was definitely a few times where I missed some good shots. Like this shot. There was some mad light peeping through the clouds and it looked like it was rapturing these people on the sea wall, but unfortunately I missed it. This isn't the camera I'd reach for if I needed to be quick, like with sports photography or street, or a photo of me in the local film shop when I find out they're charging 30 quid for a roll of Portra 400. Ha! But before we crack on any further, what exactly is this thing? Well, this is the Voigtlander roll film. You might know Voigtlander from their lenses and rangefinders, but that's faux Voigtlander, the company Casino wearing a Voigtlander licensed mask. Nah, this thing's OG, back when Voigtlander were top dogs in the game. By the time Voigtlander decided to make this thing, they'd already been around for nearly 200 years. And I do have a small confession to make about this camera. It was built in 1927, which I know is 96 years ago, but 100 years was just a nice round number for the title. If you feel betrayed and want to come back and watch this video in 4 years' time, then I understand. Sick of treading in all the sieges that was littering the beach, me and Ethan headed over to the newer, less crispy Brighton Pier. This photo could have been cool, but I was sort of in the wrong position. What would have been better if I'd had the pier silhouetted and then the light hitting the waves, like this. You know, this photo is actually kind of weird because I don't remember taking a picture of a f***ing dream. Interesting theory as to why I think this photo looks so dreamlike. All day I was combating the sea spray, having to wipe it off my lens, and I think this time I just forgot. A bit like the sea was sorting me out nature's pro mist filter. I'm also very pleased with how this photo came out. Maybe I was wrong about Ektar. Maybe I'll let it back in the house again. Fun fact about this photo, this is the exact same seagull that was in the photo of the upside down house. Obviously, I have no way of knowing that. The sun had set on our test day in Brighton, but I still had a few frames left. Luckily, bro said he knew a place.
I've been telling you to come here for a while. That'll do.
If you don't know what you're looking at, this is a viaduct built so that trains can cross gaps in the land. And if you look at it just right, it will transport you to the mirror realm. This is where you go when you solve that ancient puzzle box that you found in the basement of an abandoned cabin in the woods.
Come on, you can do this. Oh, hello, Max Whitlock.
Right, pass me my skateboard. What's really good about vertical lines like this is that it properly highlights just how incompetent I am at composing a photo with this thing. Luckily though, Ethan and his Voigtlander Brilliant came through for us.
This is the constant game I have to play. You see the 4 arrows though?
Yeah.
They're not that helpful. Can I get a reading, please?
Do you not have this app, this free app?
I do, but it's in my pocket.
Oh, is it? It's in your pocket. It was sort of in my pocket as well.
Yeah.
So, would I use this camera again? 100%, without a doubt. I love the way that it makes you slow down, and I do really like the images that come out of this thing. Also, this thing is just mad portable. When folded down, this thing is less than an inch thick, which my girlfriend assures me is average. Now, all jokes aside though, you can take this thing everywhere. I've had it in my back pocket the entire time I've been doing this. And I like this camera so much, in fact, that I bought the far more modern 1951 Bessa 1. But to be honest, it just doesn't hit the same. But maybe that's because the roll film was made in 1927, and there's something about keeping it alive and making sure it does what it was built to do.